Okay, us being like a God?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is something, if you look in the Bible, Christ was saying very directly was, be still and know that I am God. And and this is all about interpretation, but what I feel to be truthful from my own experience with Source and with tuning in with Spirit is that when I, Tanya Love, am still and centered, and I go into the vastness of consciousness, I tune in, I tap in, I know, I am, I understand, I create. So when I am in that alignment, I am focused like a laser beam upon my intention, and I'm calling it forth like a magnet powerfully to my physical experience. So I am the creator. So Source and I, Source meaning the infinite vast consciousness, the energy that supports all life, I am one with that. And when I am one with that consciously in creation, I am God. Because I am creating through my thoughts, my focus, my intention, my action. So when someone is not seeing themselves in that way, so a lot of us play smaller, and so we're kind of taught to, actually, ironically, we're taught that by religion and by political stands and by I cannot talk, I'm tongue twisted today, societal teachings. We're often taught to play small. So when you're a child and you really know what you want to do, and then your family comes in and, oh no, honey, you shouldn't do that. There's no money in that. Like, let's say the little boy, he wants to play the guitar. And he's like, one day I want to be a singer, I'm going to play the guitar. And the mom's like, no, honey, in our family, we're doctors, and you need to go to school, and we have a lot of money, and we'll pay your way, and you're going to become a doctor. And so this could be like the record that's played to this child from birth. And then he gets 18, 20 years old. He's going to college, making those important choices. His heart and soul wants to go play music, but his family's all pressuring him to go become a doctor to take over the family business. And this is when souls will go and they'll start creating from obligation, from guilt, from other people's expectations. And they are not still. They're usually overly frantically working to fulfill somebody else's need and desire. And that's never going to be satisfying or rewarding because you're not being true to yourself. So when that soul is creating from fear, they're still, in essence, one with Source, but they're not conscious of it. So they're unconsciously creating from fearful, frantic, egoic action instead of taking a step into meditation and saying, you know what, Dad, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, Mom. I hear what you're saying, Minister. But I'm going to be still with myself. And when I get still and I tap in and I feel my heart center, nope, my heart center says we're going to make music. And so I appreciate all your feedback, but I know who I am, and I'm going in this direction. And I'm going to take action, and this is how I'm going to share my song or share my gift with the world. And so that is when we take that time to be still and know we are gods, then we're not going to play small anymore. And I feel that's what's collectively shifting on our planet right now in a big way, is a lot of us are starting to realize we are that, and we can actually reclaim that instead of believing that we're not worthy and we have to repent of our sins and we have to go bow down in front of a stranger, some priest we don't know, and just ask him if it's going to be okay for us. What the hell? Why would he know if something's going to be better for us? Any more than why would your mom or dad know what's best for you? Your mom and dad and your family and friends and all these people, they can have an idea of things from their own perspective, but no one is ever going to know what is best for you more than you will know. That is a truth. But most of us deny ourselves every day. We deny our own knowing all the time. You got women that they really feel strongly about something, but they hang out with all the friends that are like, oh, honey, no, you should totally drop that guy and you should just do this. And then they're feeling inner conflict because their heart and soul are saying go in this direction, but then all the gossipy friends are saying no, or they're all saying, oh, you need a guy with money. And so the woman's like, but he's such a loving person and he's so good to me. And so the pressure comes in. She denies what she knows is feeling right. And she goes and waits and holds out for some rich sugar daddy to come along and then feels unfulfilled but lives in a mansion. Awesome. So my point of saying that is that when you don't play small, and I don't care if you were born into, millions of dollars or if you were born in poverty. I was born in poverty. I heard all the time, there's not enough. I was abused my whole childhood. I had people trying to kill me, literally. I have been through some shit in my journey, but going through all of it, I realized, even young, I would challenge those humans like, that doesn't make sense to me. That's out of alignment to me. I'm just going to have to trust what feels right to me because you're off. And the more and more I started to see that it's okay. There's so many in the world that are hurting and so many that are lost. So what I learned as Tanya Love is, why would I tune into that for my answers? Why would I go to the misaligned psychic that's smoking like a train and that looks freaked the hell out and ask her my future? It's terrifying to me. But I see people who do this and they don't question it. They don't discern energy. If each of you listening would stop playing small and you all would call back your power and you'd all start to be still and remember you are God's here to create a new earth, we would shift this planet so fast. But what has to happen is each of us need to wake up, and we need to remember that. We need to remember that we're one, that we're connected. So if somebody's doing something in the rainforest and it's destroying the rainforest, it is going to absolutely affect us living in Vancouver. If somebody's doing something messed up over in the ocean in Japan and the waters are getting polluted, it is absolutely going to spread across the planet, and it's going to affect all of us. So if somebody's got a problem in one part of the planet and we pretend that's not a big deal because it's not our problem, in essence, that's not true. We don't need to dwell and obsess and be in fear and depression about that, but there's things we could do to make a difference in our part of the movie. There's things each of us could do. I totally encourage you guys, if you haven't seen it yet, to watch the movie Tomorrowland. I've watched it twice already. I took my nieces and my daughter to see it yesterday, and such a great film. And in that movie, basically, it's showing like the world's ending and that there's nothing they can do about it because they've got this big programming thing that's kind of like calculating the possibility of the planet not destroying itself and that it's going down. And so the beauty I love about this film is that this one girl, of all the people that are listening to the news and they're just believing that the world's going to hell, and I see it on Facebook today. A girl was sharing that on Facebook, as a matter of fact, and she's like, I just feel like really bad things are coming in September and October and like the end of times and all this. And then I've seen people saying crazy things about the end of times. And what I realize is if you watch the film Tomorrowland, most people are tuning into the destruction on the news. They're tuning into all the bad stuff happening in the world. Oh, another school, being shot up. Oh, the police are now being abused by this and that. And look at, they're killing this lion in Africa. And yes, these are things that are messed up. I agree. But if we're tuning into the problem and we're watching all that and we're just like hopeless and we think, who cares? The world's going to end anyways. So I'm just going to go get high. I'm just going to go and like party it up until the end. Like a lot of the music, like party, what was that Prince song? Party till like 1999, or I can't remember, but it's like the world's ending kind of song. And I really feel that if each of us, like in the movie, this girl, she would not believe it. She was like, no, there's got to be something we can do about it. And she was focusing on the solution. And I relate to her so much because she doesn't really fit in. She's a little warrior rebel. She's always getting in trouble by the teachers and no one wants to really hear what she has to say. But she's got a drive and she has a point that she knows that if they can change the way people are looking at things, they could change what's there. And so in the film, they basically have to go through this process where they can show that I feel like what they're mirroring is that the media is feeding the wrong wolf. So she talks about there's two wolves and you always are choosing which one you're going to feed. They're both hungry. So one wolf is darkness and despair. It's like the doom and gloom wolf. And the other wolf is the hope and light. It's about love and hope. And, there is a possibility of miracles and shifts. And depending on which one you feed is the one that you're going to nurture and you're going to grow. So if there's people, even if they're very spiritual, because I see some people that I consider to be quite spiritually aware, but then sometimes they'll surprise me and they're just really focused on the world's going to end, the earthquakes are coming. And I'm just like, whoa, guys, like really remember your power, because if each of us knows that we are God and we all practice this stillness every day, like let's say today we have 1,500 people watching and every one of you makes a commitment for the next month to every day be quiet and meditate and focus on a beautiful planet, to focus on it and to ask Source, how may I serve in assisting with this? And then listen and take aligned action, we will see shifts happening. But if all of you listen to me today talking and you're like, that sounds good, but no, the world's going to end. It's all shitty. Like, people are corrupt. They're never going to change. People are hateful. They're never going to change. Then you are feeding the wrong wolf. And nobody else is creating that but you. And what I love in the movie Femarllc that the point is made is the guy that he appears dark, but he has a lot of truth. And what he says is that basically humanity gave up. Humanity was actually inviting the apocalypse. They start waiting for it. And look at our planet. I see people, they're like trying to cause the end times. They're trying to blow things up and like, we're going to make the end times happen because they're so anxious and afraid that they're trying to actually make it happen. And it's because they're giving up. And it's because it requires something of each of you today to create change. But if the world's ending, there's nothing required of you. You can just sit at home and you can just complain and you can just say, oh, the world's dark and dirty and polluted and I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to get high and smoke a bong and it's not my problem. That is you feeding the wrong wolf. And that is you as one individual feeding into the collective consciousness of doom and gloom. The people making movies about it, the people writing about it, and they're focusing on it and they're talking about it. And then we watch movies and we get scared about it. It's all feeding the wrong wolf. Or I would say the wrong if you really want the planet to survive. Now there's people who are creating consciously aware films. There's people writing very consciously aware writings. There's people creating shows like I'm Creating Better, bringing truth and alignment to help people understand that there is another way and that there is solution, but it's going to require something from you. It's going to require you to start listening. It's going to require you to start taking aligned action. It's going to require you to do your part in cleaning up the mess and finding balance. It's going to require something from each of us to start caring about the whole, to start caring about each other more than we care about our selfish, little, fearful, frantic ego. So when I see people that are so worried about being popular, so worried about being famous, so worried about being rich, that they're totally stepping on people to get there, feeding the wrong wolf. It's insanity. And there's no way that that is causing them to feel good because I watch them. They're fearfully, frantically creating, and they're not at peace. They're not at ease. And how could they be? They have no honor, no reverence, no regard for what's happening out there. So if we want to feed the correct wolf, the one that's light and hope, we need to start listening. We need to start being one with Source. We need to start taking action when it comes, not procrastinating. When my angels say, Tanya, you're going to go to Cannon Beach tomorrow and you're going to take your clocks and we're going to guide you, which just happened last week. Sunday night, making dinner, they say, you're going to go do this. And I said, awesome. It has been a personal goal of mine for years to have my artwork for sale at Cannon Beach in Oregon. Really cute town on the coast, and a lot of people from all over the world go there. And so last Sunday after the show, I'm making dinner, my angel said that. The next morning I said, AJ, do you want to go to Cannon Beach with me? And she's like, yeah. So I took my daughter and I took Honey Girl and we go to the beach. And within an hour, when I pulled into town, there was a parking spot waiting for me. I walked down the street. I'm looking at a few shops. Not feeling it. My dog, Honey Girl, starts pulling into this certain shop. And I'm like, baby, come on, let's go. She keeps pulling. So I was like, wait, let's go see why she's pulling. So I had my daughter and her wait outside, and I went in. Long story short, the guy said to bring my clocks over. He'd look at them on the side of the store, so I pulled my car around. And Ron and I now have our beautiful clocks for sale at Cannon Beach in this beautiful boutique gallery. So that is how spirit works. And if I didn't listen, let's say I'm like, oh, I really want my stuff in Cannon Beach. And then I get that intuition. It says, take your clocks. Don't just take your business cards. You're going to take your clocks and your business cards. So I did. I listened to that, and I honor that as sacred. I honor that as like God's calling back to me. And that's part of what all of you need to start doing is you ask the questions and you don't listen to the answers. You ask and ask and ask and ask and ask and hope for something to change. And we don't listen. And I'm not mocking it because I definitely have done it lots before I became more aligned and more in a place where I was choosing consciously to live a spirit-led life. I'll give you an example. Years ago, I was asking, should I leave my marriage? is this a good place for me? And one day, my ex-husband and I were driving down the coast in California, and I was just